Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan, Radhe. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivrajakacharya Ashtotar Sat His Divine Grace Abhay Charanar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan Ki Jai Shri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Ki Jai Srila Rupa Goswami Pad Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurapani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Lankayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratvishe Namaha Pancha Tattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Aradhyo Bhagavan Vrajesha Tanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachidupasana Vrajavadhu Varkenaya Kalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam Prema Pumartho Mahan Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhor Matamidam Tatradara Naparaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinapanto Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. I hope you all had a refreshing night's sleep and some nice prasadam. The arrangements here are really very nice. So gratitude and congratulations to all the devotees who have been involved in making arrangements. There has been attention to detail. Every little thing is being planned out very nicely. So that is what helps. Incidentally, this whole controversy about hearing and chanting and management, the eternal question of ISKCON, to do management or to do just plain hearing and chanting and preaching. You see, if our devotees here had not organized things so well, our hearing and chanting would have been chaotic. We would not have been able to relish the whole program at all. So it is very important to have good management in order to have proper hearing and chanting, congregationally speaking. If you want to do something on your own at home, it's one thing. You can sit at home, but then you need to get your life organized. If your life is not being managed properly, then you can't even do that. So you have to manage your own life, and when you come into community life, congregational life like this, then good organization, good management, attention to detail, meticulous planning and execution and dedication are all very important. Do you all agree with me? Do you all agree that the devotees here have done everything very nicely? Okay, so now that's, by the way, one of the qualities of Krishna also, that he is Daksha, he is expert. So yesterday, in the morning as well as the afternoon, we were speaking about the 64 qualities of Krishna in general. We spoke about how Krishna has actually unlimited transcendental qualities, and the devotees like to hear about them because they feel very happy hearing about Krishna's glories. Srila Rupa Goswami has selected 64 of these unlimited qualities, the chief qualities, by studying various Vedic scriptures. And he has presented them with proper references. We also looked into what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught Sanatana Goswami on the subject of Krishna's 64 qualities. We read the verses that enumerated all these qualities. We spoke about the 4 divisions of these 64 qualities. And we saw how Krishna has all these 64 qualities in completeness, unlimitedly, and always. Whereas other categories have some of these qualities and not at all to the degree that Krishna has them. The Jivas, Lord Shiva, Lord Narayan, and the other Vishnu Tattvas, this is all in another category. They are different categories. But Krishna has these special 4 qualities, the 4 Madhuris, which are not found in anyone. What about, okay, let's have a little quiz. What about Balaram? Narayan has 60. Krishna has 64. What about Balaram? Think before speaking. And raise your hand if you have an answer. Balaram has how many qualities? 60 or 64? Huh? How many? Anyone? Raise your hand. Yes. 64. So, okay, it can either be yes or it can be no. So you're saying 64. So can you back it up with some spiritual logic? Okay, there is no difference between Krishna and Balaram. The only difference is the complexion. Krishna is dark and Balaram is white. At the same time, there is some difference also, right? The whole Brahma Vimohan Leela came to light for Balaram only at the end of 1 year. Even Balaram didn't know. So there is some difference. So you still stand by your statement? Huh? Huh? Okay, so the qualities are 64, but the degree in Krishna is more. Okay? How do you say with respect to each of these four? Can you illustrate? The first one is Leela Madhuri. By the way, your answer is correct. Balaram has 64 qualities. Why do we say he has 64 qualities? Because he also has these 4 extra qualities that Krishna has. Now we'll come to the but later. The first quality is Leela Madhuri. Leela Madhuri refers to Krishna's loving pastimes. In Srila Prabhupada's words, they specifically refer to the childhood and boyhood pastimes of Krishna. So, we can see that Balaram was accompanying Krishna in all these pastimes. Whether it was stealing butter when they were in their childhood, whether it was herding the calves and later the cows in their boyhood and playing and frolicking in the fields with the other cowherd boys. So Balaram was involved there. So he also has Leela Madhuri. Number 2, Prema Madhuri. If the Leela Madhuri essentially consists of Vatsalya and Sakhya rasas, the Prema Madhuri essentially consists of Shringara ras or Madhura ras with the gopis. So, Prema Mandita, Prema Mandala. So the Prema Mandala is Prema Mandita. They are adorned with exceptional qualities of the Madhurya ras. So Krishna does the Rasa Leela and so on. So that is Prema Madhuri. He is surrounded by such loving devotees in the Shringara ras. Does Balaram have Rasa Leela? Yes. But his gopis are different, of course, from Krishna's gopis. So we understand that Balaram also does the Rasa Leela. So there is the Prema Madhuri there also. The next is Venu Madhuri. Krishna plays the flute. Does Balaram play the flute? How many say that Balaram plays the flute? Raise your hand. Okay. How many say Balaram doesn't play the flute? Most of you are being very diplomatic and not answering. You see, Balaram does play the flute. All the cowherd boys also play all these flutes and all these instruments. We shouldn't think that because Balaram has the plow, that he doesn't play the flute. So he also plays the flute. The other cowherd boys, they also play the flute. So we have Venu Madhuri for Balaram also. And Rupa Madhuri. Is Balaram also extremely beautiful? Like Krishna? Only difference is complexion. Dark and white. Right? That's the only difference. So, therefore, we can understand that Balaram also has 64. So, you're absolutely right. What is your name? Huh? Shripad Mahaprabhu Das. Very nice. So, your analysis is quite correct. So then Krishna has 64 qualities, Balaram also has 64 qualities. So are they identical in their 64 qualities? Or is there a difference? There is difference? What kind of difference? But both have 64? To the degree. Degree of what? Completeness in what sense? Completeness of what? Rasa. You see, you remember the phrase that everything that Krishna does, all the qualities that are there in Krishna, they exist in astonishing form. Ami Krishne kiladbhutaha. All these previous qualities which exist in Narayan, in Shiva, in the Jivas, but they exist in Krishna in an astonishing way. Ami Krishne kila adbhutaha. So this adbhuta word is very important. So similarly, even though Balaram has 64 qualities, he has the extra 4 qualities also which are not in Narayan. And he shares these 4 qualities with Krishna. But still, comparatively, these 4 qualities exist in Krishna in a much more sweeter way. It is more filled with rasa, comparatively. Although we shouldn't think Balaram's is ordinary, but comparatively, Krishna's pastimes are sweeter in respect to all these 4. So Balaram can play the flute, but not like Krishna. Balaram's Ras Leela is magnificent, but not like Krishna's Rasa Leela. Balaram's beauty is incomparable, but not like Krishna's. So in that way, we see that Balaram and Krishna differ very slightly in the difference of degree of rasa that is manifested in these 4 madhuris. The degree of sweetness is more in Krishna's case. Okay? So anyway, so these are some of the things that we discussed yesterday, not Balaram, but the other factors. Now, it was important to discuss this on the first whole day. We haven't even got to the specific qualities of Krishna. And it may not be possible to complete all 64 qualities. And yesterday I was discussing with His Holiness Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj. He's also struggling with how to finish everything in the given time. So he was saying there's such a big problem in general that someone who's presenting something from the scriptures, you have a limited time and there's so much to say. You either rush through everything or you do some things satisfactorily. So we both concluded better not to rush through and do whatever we can do, but do it nicely. Do you agree with this? So even if we don't complete the 64 qualities, most likely we will not be able to. You can read up at home or in the ashram. So we'll start now with the 64 qualities. And Srila Rupa Goswami has given us scriptural evidence for each. Srila Prabhupada says that it is very important for a devotee to cite scripture. Scripture is the word of the Supreme Lord and also the word of His great devotees. Both are authoritative statements. So we cite them whenever we make any statements. Just like a lawyer in the court will have to cite certain sections of the law. My Lord, under section such and such of such and such act, such and such is the case. Or there was a case law, the Supreme Court judged in such and such situation in that case, and it concluded in this way. So we will also cite from scripture saying, in Padma Puran, so and so, or Bhagavad Gita, so and so, this shloka has been spoken. Or we can say, in the history, in the case history of Ajamil with such and such, this happened. So we will cite references. And therefore, Rupa Goswami, for each of the 64 qualities, he will cite references. Because that is where he has extracted these qualities from. So the first quality is Suramyangaha. What is the meaning of Suramyangaha? Now you can open your Nectar of Devotion books to this page. We're starting with the first quality. It's called beautiful bodily features. The word Anga means body, Ramya means beautiful, Su means very nicely. So Suramyangaha, Suramya Angaha. So his body has beautiful features, but very beautiful features. So, can somebody read? You can read this text? You can read? Here is Srila Prabhupada's text, his summary presentation. Yes.
Any comparison of the different parts of the Lord's body to different material objects cannot factually be a complete comparison. Ordinary persons who cannot understand how exalted are the bodily features of the Lord are simply given a chance to understand by a material comparison. It is said that Krishna's face is as beautiful as the moon. His thighs are powerful just like the trunks of elephant. His arms are just like two pillars. His palms are extended like lotus flowers. His chest is just like a doorway. His hips are dense and the middle of his body is a terrace.
Okay, thank you. So now let's see how Rupa Goswami has defined Suramyangaha. Shlakyanga sanniveshoyah Suramyanga sakathyate. Shlakya refers to praiseworthy. So a person who is endowed with praiseworthy bodily parts is called beautiful limbed. So every part of Krishna's body is beautiful. Sometimes the material body is not like that. Not sometimes, mostly. Someone may be very beautiful in some way, but the nose may be a little crooked. Somebody may have some other part of the body which is not perfect. But every part of Krishna's body is just perfectly proportioned and looks beautiful. There is no trace of imperfection in any of Sri Krishna's bodily organs or limbs or parts. And of course we know that since each of these are transcendental, they can perform the function of any other part of the body. Now, we see here in Srila Prabhupada's purport, he says, any comparison of the different parts of the Lord's body to different material objects cannot factually be a complete comparison. Why not? Say when Krishna's face is compared to the moon. So this is one of the comparisons given here. Why is Srila Prabhupada saying that these objects cannot be a complete comparison? Why not? Why not? Sorry? Material objects have defects, okay, fine. But even if there is some object that doesn't seem to have a defect, okay, the moon has black marks. Okay, pock marks. So you can say there are some defects. But suppose the moon was perfect. There were no black spots on the moon. Still, would it have been a perfect comparison? No. You see, Krishna's face is so beautiful that you cannot compare it to anything else. It stands alone. There is no comparison of anything. But because we have no experience of Krishna's face, we know the deity, but still we don't have that experience of actually seeing Krishna's face. So the Shastras and the great devotees who have actually seen the Lord, they give us examples which we can relate to living within this world. So therefore Krishna's complexion will be compared to the the monsoon cloud. Or his face will be compared to the moon. So Abhinava Jaladhara Sundara He. Abhinava means newly formed. Jaladhara refers to a cloud, that which holds water. Sundara He. So Krishna has a beautiful complexion of a freshly formed monsoon cloud. Now, is the monsoon cloud really that beautiful? It's okay, it looks attractive. But Krishna's complexion, is it just like that? No, it's far more beautiful than that. But because these are noteworthy examples in our experience, the moon is generally considered beautiful, a full moon especially. So a lot of poets and musicians write about the full moon and many things like that. So therefore, when you compare Krishna, you have to compare to the best that's available in our experience, or the closest that's available to our experience. So this is also called Chandra Shakha Nyaya or Shakha Chandra Nyaya. It's a kind of a logic where you explain something that is beyond our reach with the help of something that is within our reach, within our understanding. Okay, like when a mother wants to show the baby the moon, and the baby looking here and there doesn't have any idea where to look, what the moon is. So she goes under a tree, and the moon can be seen between two branches. And she said, look at these two branches, see between that, you see the moon. So actually the moon is not between the two branches. The moon is very far away. The moon has nothing to do with the two branches. But because the child is not able to see the moon, doesn't know which part of the sky to look, so the mother is giving some kind of direction, some hint. So similarly, these comparisons can never be complete comparisons, as Srila Prabhupada says, because Krishna's bodies, parts, and everything about Krishna is incomparable. There is absolutely no contest or no comparison. But nevertheless, because we need to have some understanding, so the best examples in different categories are chosen. For example, that Krishna dances like the peacocks. Actually, Krishna's dancing is much more beautiful than the dancing of the peacocks. But because peacocks are known for their dancing skill in the human society, among birds rather, so we give that example. It's the closest that comes to it. So similarly, Krishna's beautiful bodily parts have been explained here in this particular verse. So this is Suramyangaha. Next quality. Sarvasal Lakshananvitaha. Auspicious characteristics. Krishna's body is endowed with all of the auspicious features. Now, Sarva means all. Sat Lakshanam. Sal means Sat actually, auspicious. Lakshanam means characteristics. So Krishna has all auspicious characteristics in his personality. This is the point that is made here. And Srila Rupa Goswami explains that there are two types of auspicious characteristics. Tano ganottham ankottham iti sarlakshanam vidha. So there are two types of sat lakshana. Dvidha means two types, gunottham and ankottham. Gunottham refers to bodily features that are auspicious, and ankottham refers to certain marks on the hands and feet that are unique and not found in anybody else. So let's summarize this. So the auspicious characteristics found in Krishna are of two kinds. Gunottham, which means he has auspicious bodily characteristics. What those bodily features are, we will see shortly. And ankottham, the markings on the hands and feet. We will also see that shortly. Now, can we read the first line?
There are certain characteristics of different beings which are considered to be very auspicious and fully present in the body of the Lord.
Okay. So, this is a general introduction. Fully present. So, other personalities may have some of these characteristics, but they're not fully present. Remember the word Adbhuta. Whenever they're present in Krishna, these qualities are present in astonishing ways. Others may have a few qualities here and there in minute quantity. Now, please make a note that the first paragraph that we are reading now and the second as well, they are an example or description of Gunottama, the first type of auspicious characteristic. So those of you who want to note, you can note in the margins of your book or you can note it in your notebook, whichever you prefer. And the last paragraph in this section, starting with the fate lines on the palm, are also considered that paragraph. That is Ankottham, the second type of auspicious characteristics. Okay? So let's read what these 32 auspicious symptoms, Gunottham, bodily features of Krishna, are. Yes, please read.
My dear king of the cowherds, I can find 32 auspicious symptoms on the body of your son. I am wondering how this boy could have taken his birth in a family of cowherd men. Generally, when Lord Krishna appears, he does so in a family of Kshatriyas, as did Lord Ramachandra, and sometimes in a family of Brahmanas. But Krishna accepted a role of son to Maharaj Nanda, despite the fact that Nanda belonged to the Vaishya community. The business of the Vaishya community is trade, commerce, and the protection of cows. Therefore, his friend, who may have been born into a Brahmana family, expressed his wonder at how such an exalted child could take birth in a family of Vaishyas. Anyway, he pointed out the auspicious signs on the body of Krishna to the boy's foster father.
So a Brahmana friend of Nanda Maharaj was struck with wonder to see that Krishna's body was adorned with 32 auspicious symptoms, characteristics. And he was wondering, how is it possible? Generally, these things are found in, say, Brahmanas or Kshatriyas, and the Supreme Lord himself generally appears in these kinds of communities. But here is Nanda Maharaj, who is a Vaishya, a mercantile person who is protecting cows. And how come his son is adorned or endowed with these 32 supremely auspicious characteristics? He was a little surprised. But then, of course, he understood that Krishna was very special. So what exactly are these 32 characteristics? Let's read in the body. We are talking of Gunottham, bodily features. Yes.
He continued, "This boy has a reddish luster in 7 places. His eyes, the ends of his hands, the ends of his legs, his palate, his lips, his tongue, and his nails. A reddish luster in these 7 places is considered to be auspicious. 3 parts of his body are very broad, his waist, forehead, and chest. 3 parts of his body are short: his neck, thighs, and genitals. 3 parts of his body are very deep: his voice, intelligence, and navel. There is highness in 5 parts of his body: his nose, arms, ears, forehead, and thighs. In 5 parts of his body there is fineness: his skin, the hairs on his head and on the parts of his body, his teeth, and his fingertips. The aggregate of all these bodily features is manifest only in the bodies of great personalities.
So, can you imagine such detailed descriptions of God? Can you see it in any other tradition? That God has been described in this kind of detail? Generally, the conception of God is very vague and at best in the mood of Aishwarya, that God is mighty, God is great. Of course, God is great, undoubtedly, but how great? Prabhupada used to say, that is not so well known. And his greatness can be usually seen in many other places by his activities of creation, destruction, his power, and so on. But his characteristics of sweetness, those and in such detail, are found only in such bhakti scriptures. So if you really want to know God, you have to go through these acharyas and through these books. Then you can understand everything about Krishna as much as is possible for us in our state of consciousness. So just imagine. Essentially there are 2 things, lalima, redness, and tungata, elevation. So certain things are red, certain things are elevated, certain things are fine. So just imagine the realizations of the great devotees who have actually visualized Krishna's form and are actually seeing all these things. And these are the mature realizations of these devotees. These are not figments of their imagination. So this is Gunottama. Next, the last paragraph is Ankottama. That is the markings on the hands and feet.
The faint lines on the palm are also considered to be auspicious bodily symptoms. In this connection, one old gopi informed King Nanda, "Your son possesses various wonderful faint lines on his palms. There are the signs of lotus flowers and the wheels on his palms, and on his soles there are the signs of a flag, a thunderbolt, a fish, a rod for controlling elephants, and a lotus flower. Please observe how auspicious these signs are."
So what are some of the signs? On his palms, lotus flowers, wheels, and on his soles there's signs of a flag, thunderbolt, fish, etc. You know, Srila Prabhupada at one point mentions that there are many people who claim to be avatar. But we must check whether they are actually avatar. In what way can we check? Do they have the characteristics? What are the ways we can check if somebody is an avatar or not? What kind of tests do they have to go through? Number 1, they must be predicted in the scripture in advance, that an avatar of the Lord will descend at such and such a place, at such and such time, and he will perform such functions. That must be. So if somebody says, I am an avatar, he says, so please show me where, in which scripture you are predicted to appear. So, and the name of the father, mother, everything, and when they will appear. But unfortunately, there are many people who mislead people by falsely claiming to be incarnations of God. Currently, the Kumbh Mela is going on. And in one of the previous Kumbh Melas, one of our devotees had gone there, and there was one camp which was conducted by one person who claimed to be Kalki avatar. And I think he's still around somewhere. So naturally this devotee went into his camp and he spoke to this Kalki avatar. And he said, well, Kalki avatar is supposed to come only at the end of Kali Yuga. He first asked him, you say you are Kalki, is your father's name Vishnu Yasha? He said, no, because that is what the Bhagavatam says. He said, no. Were you born in Shambhala? He says, no. He said, anyway, you are supposed to appear at the end of Kali Yuga. So how come you are here? So he said, I could not tolerate the suffering of the people of Kali Yuga, so I came early. And this kind of false incarnations are no good. So Srila Prabhupada said, you must be predicted in the scriptures. Number 2, you must show your universal form. If you're indeed an avatar, show your Virat Roop. One time in the early days, when Srila Prabhupada was still in the storefront in New York, all sorts of young people would come to him, some of them intoxicated and so on. And one young man, he raised his hand and said, I am God. Because Prabhupada was speaking about Krishna being God. So Prabhupada said, oh, so can you show the universal form? So that young man stood on his toes and he raised his hands up and said, here is my universal form. So everybody started laughing. They knew that he was intoxicated. But the point is that this is what people think of avatar, universal form. That is just stretching your hands and you become universal form. Do they have any idea what it means to be universal form? That's the second point. Third point is that avatar should perform some extraordinary activities which are not possible for human beings to perform. Like Krishna lifting Govardhan hill, or Lord Ramachandra killing so many demons, or having a bridge built across the sea, just floating, the rocks floating on the water and so on. So that's the third. So we have to ask people like the Kalki avatar, so-called Kalki avatar, so what extraordinary activities have you done? And can you show us your Virat Roop? And the fourth characteristic is that they have certain predefined markings on the soles and on the palms, which is what is described here. So the auspicious characteristics must be seen as they were in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's divine body also. Both the Gunottham and the Ankottham. And as far as Ankottham is concerned, you have on his lotus soles, you have the Ankush, the elephant goad. Sometimes you may have barley corn, the lotus flower and so on. So we have to tell them, sir, please show us your palms and your soles so that we can see that these auspicious symptoms mentioned in the scriptures are to be found there. And of course they won't be. I mean, he may tattoo it or something, but it's not the same. When Krishna was in Vrindavan and he started taking the cows out for grazing, there was a dilemma for Mother Yashoda because she was concerned that Krishna is too young and the soles of his feet are too soft, and the path in the forest is full of thorns and pebbles, so they will poke Krishna's tender lotus soles. So she told him to wear footwear. And Krishna says, well, I will wear footwear only if you give footwear to the cows also. And since Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj had 900,000 cows, and each cow had 4 legs, so the number of shoes would have been very large, not practical, even beyond Nanda Maharaj's reach. So then finally Mother Yashoda agreed. But in the meanwhile, what happened was that the cows would go ahead and they would crush with their hooves all the thorns and even the other pebbles so that they would become fine dust, and Krishna would not have any trouble walking on the forest path of Vrindavan, and no pebbles or no thorns would pierce his delicate lotus feet. So this was the service the cows wanted. The cows became anxious and worried. A new problem has come up now. What is this? If Mother Yashoda is going to make an issue of the shoes, then we'll be deprived of going with Krishna into the forest. So they quickly ensured that all the issue was sorted out. So they went and crushed the thorns and everything became very nice for Krishna to walk. And the footprints of Krishna are considered the greatest treasure of Vrindavan. So Mother Earth became super fortunate because she had the lotus imprints of Krishna's feet on her. And this privilege is not found even for Vaikuntha Loka, because in Vaikuntha, Lord Narayan wears footwear. He doesn't walk bare feet. So his lotus feet do not directly come in touch with the land of Vaikuntha. But in Vrindavan, Krishna's lotus feet came in touch with the soil of Vrindavan. And all the residents of Vrindavan, including the animals, the birds, they understood that this was the greatest treasure of Vrindavan. And these footprints remained like that, intact. Now, normally when you walk on sand or mud and you leave behind your footprints, those footprints get erased very quickly. Either there's some breeze that blows some sand over it, or someone else comes and steps on it. So how is it, the question arises, that Krishna's footprints remained as they are? Firstly, the answer is that everybody understood it was Krishna's footprints. How did they understand it was Krishna's footprints? They saw the marks. They saw the lotus, they saw the elephant goad, they saw all these symptoms. This is Krishna's footprint. So even the animals could recognize it, the birds could recognize it. So the cows, whenever they saw the footprints of Krishna, they would move to the side. Similarly, the deer and the birds, they would all steer clear of Krishna's footprints because they wanted to preserve those footprints forever. And even the breeze and the sand in Krishna was very careful to not cover the footprints. In Vrindavan, everything is transcendental. So the breeze is also conscious, the air is conscious there, the sand is conscious, the water is conscious, the stones are conscious. In Vraja, everything is conscious. Not so in the material world. So therefore the sand, the breeze, they all cooperated with the animals and birds to preserve the footprints of Krishna in the soil of Vraja. And they could identify it because of these marks. So this is the auspicious characteristic second. Sarvasar Lakshananvitaha. Anvita means to be endowed, or that which has the essential characteristics. So these characteristics are inseparable, essential characteristics of Krishna's personality or his transcendental body. So you won't have Krishna's body without these characteristics. That is the purport of the word Anvitaha. So it is this essential quality which is not separable from Krishna's body. So now we'll come to the third quality. Ruchiraha. The third quality, I hope you're following it in your book, your Nectar of Devotion book. Pleasing. Srila Rupa Goswami has defined pleasing. See, Rupa Goswami's definitions are so apt, so concise and so perfect. He has defined bhakti also very nicely. You know that? Anyabhilashita shunyam. That verse you know very well. Similarly, all the 64 qualities, he defines each quality precisely. And he'll also talk about different categories within that quality. So that is why we need the works of these acharyas who analyze the scriptures with their pure devotional intelligence. And then they present this information for our hearing and meditation. So Rupa Goswami says, Ruchira means pleasing. What does it mean to be pleasing? Saundaryena drik ananda kari ruchira uchyate. Ruchira uchyate means is said to be pleasing. What is pleasing? When saundaryena, by his saundarya or his beauty, ananda kari, he creates bliss. Kari means to create. Ananda means bliss. He creates bliss for what or for whom? Drik. Drik means the eyes. So, because by his beauty he gives bliss to the eye, he is called Ruchira or pleasing. So we sometimes say in this world also, he has a very pleasing personality. Yes, what do we mean? Because the moment you see that person, you feel very happy. Yeah? But there are other people who may be always grumpy and grouchy and you don't feel very happy when you see them. But some people by nature are pleasing. So Krishna's personality is most pleasing because for anyone who sees him, they become very blissful. So let us see what Srila Prabhupada, how he explains this. Can you read?
Beautiful bodily features which automatically attract the eyes are called ruchira, pleasing. Krishna possesses this attractive features of ruchira in his personal features. In the 3rd canto, 2nd chapter, verse 13 of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a statement about this. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his pleasing dress, appeared at the scene of the sacrificial arena when King Yudhishthira was performing the Rajasuya sacrifice. All important personalities from different parts of the universe had been invited to the sacrificial arena, and all of them, upon beholding Krishna there, considered that the Creator had ended all of his craftsmanship in the creation of this particular body of Krishna.
Okay, we'll halt here. So this is an episode from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Maharaj Yudhishthir is conducting his Rajasuya Yajna for the pleasure of Lord Krishna. And Krishna is looking very pleasing. His dress is pleasing, his form is pleasing, his behavior, his words, his smile, everything is pleasing. All those who come to attend the ceremony are immensely pleased. And by the way, Yudhishthir Maharaj had allotted different services to his friends and relatives. Even Duryodhana, Bhima, everyone was all involved in taking care of some services. And Krishna took the service of washing the feet of all the guests. Atithi Seva. So what is the proverb that goes with it? Atithi Devo Bhava. Yes, so one treats the Atithi as good as God. So Krishna personally washed the feet of the guests who came. The kings, the princes, the sages, and so on. The brahmanas who came. And everybody was struck with wonder when they beheld Krishna there. And Shukadev Goswami says that they considered that the Creator, which means Brahma, had ended all his craftsmanship in the creation of this particular body of Krishna. In other words, that Krishna's body represented the pinnacle or the best that could possibly be there in any body, in any given form. So that is just a way of expressing things, a poetic way of saying it. Philosophically, of course, we know that Krishna is not a creation of Brahma. Rather, it is Brahma who is a creation of Krishna. And not even Krishna directly. Krishna's kala, expansion of the expansion. He comes from the navel, Padmanabha. Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, from his navel comes a lotus, and Brahma is born on top of that. So Brahma is actually a creation of the Supreme Lord. He doesn't create the Supreme Lord, but this is a kind of a poetic way of expressing this, because we are living within the world, and Krishna also is acting like a human being, like a prince, like a Kshatriya in Dwarka or Hastinapur. So therefore this statement. Srila Jiva Goswami says that actually everything was included in one fraction of the beauty of Krishna. So even this perfection of the creation, as the attendees of the Rajasuya Yajna see, is just a fraction of Krishna's beauty. As far as the gopis are concerned, they will differ with some of these people who were attending the Rajasuya Yajna. Does anyone know why? Yes? Yeah, so were they appreciating Brahma? No. The people who attended the Rajasuya Yajna, they were appreciating Brahma. This is the perfection of your creation. You've done all these 84 lakh species of life, created all these planets and everything. But this form of Krishna is the pinnacle, the perfection of your creation, your creative ability. But because they are not devotees of Vraja, of the kind that gopis are, their perception of his beauty is not complete. Therefore, Jiva Goswami says they can perceive only a fraction of Krishna's beauty. The actual beauty is perceived by the gopis of Vrindavan. And therefore, they actually criticize Brahma. They don't think Krishna is a creation of Brahma. Or actually they do, but they say that Brahma is faulty. He said, what kind of engineering degree did he get? Or what kind of medical degree did he get? See, he has made these eyes that are blinking. The purpose of the eyes is to see Krishna, and there is no other purpose. But now we have to keep blinking, and for those fractions of moments, our vision of Krishna is blocked. So this is very bad engineering, very bad design. So whilst the members of the Rajasuya Yajna are glorifying Brahma for his creation, the gopis, they are saying, how come you made eyelids that are blinking like this and we can't see Krishna properly? So they criticize Krishna. In any case, the point is that everybody finds Krishna extremely pleasing. Yes, next para of the same point.
It is said that the transcendental body of Krishna resembles the lotus flower in 8 parts, namely his face, his 2 eyes, his 2 hands, his navel and his 2 feet. The gopis and inhabitants of Vrindavan used to see the luster of lotus flowers everywhere, and they could hardly withdraw their eyes from such a vision.
Yeah, so important point. The transcendental body of Krishna resembles a lotus flower in how many parts? 8 parts. Which are the 8 parts? His face, his lotus eyes, his lotus hands, his lotus navel, and his lotus feet. You know Kunti Maharani's prayer? Namo Pankaja Nabhaya, Namo Pankaja Maline, Namo Pankaja Netraya, Namaste Pankajangraye. So she's offering obeisances to Krishna, whose navel is like a lotus, who is garlanded with lotus flowers, whose lotus feet are also like lotus flowers, whose eyes are also like lotus flowers. blooming, blossoming lotus flowers. So this is Rupa Goswami's description of Krishna as Ruchiraha. This is the third quality. Now we come to the fourth quality, which is effulgent. Krishna is very effulgent. The Sanskrit word for that is Tejasa. Tejasa yuktaha. Yuktaha means endowed with. So Krishna is endowed with Tejas. What is the meaning of Tejas? That is defined here. Tejo dhama prabhavas chetyuchyate dvividham budhaihi. Budhaihi means that those who are very knowledgeable or intelligent, very wise. Cha iti uchyate, they say dvividham, that there are two types of tejas. One is called dhama and the other is called prabhava. So, what does dhama mean? It means effulgence. And what does prabhava mean? It means the capacity to conquer anyone, especially an enemy. So these are the two meanings of being effulgent. One is the personal effulgence, and the second is the capacity to conquer. So now Srila Prabhupada is going to explain this. The first two paragraphs relate to the first definition of Tejasa, which is Dhama, which means effulgence. So you can note that if you like. Just as in your Bhakti Shastri, you were studying every line, every paragraph of Srila Prabhupada's text, here also we will do the same. So the first two paragraphs under effulgent, they are Dhama, which means effulgence. Deepti Rashihi. And the second part, or rather the first 1.5 paragraphs rather, and the second half of the second paragraph represents Prabhava. Sarvajit Sthitihi. So can you please read?
The effulgence pervading the universe is considered to be the rays of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The supreme abode of Krishna is always throwing off the effulgence known as Brahma Jyoti, and that effulgence is emanating from his body. The lustre of the hosts of jewels fixed on the chest of the Lord can defeat even the lustre of the sun, and still, when compared with the bodily lustre of the Lord, that crest of jewels appears to be only as bright as one of the stars in the sky.
Okay, thank you. We'll stop here. So, we know that all light actually originally comes from Krishna. All the light in this material world comes from the Brahma Jyoti ultimately. From the sun, and then it rests in the Brahma Jyoti, and the Brahma Jyoti is nothing but the bodily effulgence of Krishna in the spiritual world. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Brahmano hi pratisthaham. We heard that yesterday also in the Madhurya Kadambini. So this effulgence of Krishna is so enormously bright that nothing else is visible when that effulgence is present. So then, how is it that we are able to see anything else at all? Srila Jiva Goswami mentions, because in the material world, Krishna reduces his effulgence. And that is the reason we can see the sun and the moon and the other luminaries. Otherwise, it would not be possible for us to see anything else. Just like when it's sunshine, the sunshine is so bright. If you have a small torchlight, a very small torchlight somewhere, you can hardly see it, because the sunshine is so bright in comparison to that. So similarly, Krishna's effulgence is actually extremely bright. So the reason we see the sunlight and the moonlight and the other luminaries or any other form of light for that matter, is because Krishna very kindly reduces his effulgence. And that is necessary for Krishna to come and perform his earthly pastimes. If Krishna did not reduce his effulgence, he would not be able to perform his pastimes in the sense that nobody else would be able to see him because he would be so bright. Those who are in the path of Jnana Yoga, they are fascinated and captivated by the bright effulgence of the Brahma Jyoti. But the devotees of Krishna are not captivated by that effulgence. They want to see Krishna's beautiful face, like the gopis do. So therefore, in the Ishopanishad, we have that mantra, one of the last verses, Hiranmayena patrena satyasyapihitam mukham tat pushana pavrinu satya dharmaya drishtaye. What is the meaning of that? The devotee is praying to Krishna that please remove this dazzling effulgence which is intervening, coming in between you and me. I'm not able to see you because of this dazzling effulgence. Please remove that effulgence so that I can see your beautiful face. So this is the prayer of the devotee to Krishna. So if Krishna had not diminished his effulgence and come on the earth and performed his pastimes, nobody else would have been able to see him. So therefore Krishna diminishes his effulgence, and it is as a result of that others can participate with him in his pastimes, and also incidentally we can see light from the sun, moon and other sources of light. This is Srila Jiva Goswami's explanation. And also it says here that the luster of the hosts of jewels fixed on the chest of the Lord can even defeat the luster of the sun. And still, when compared with the bodily luster of the Lord, that crest of jewels appears only as bright as one of the stars in the sky. Generally, these jewels that are on Krishna's body are so bright, so effulgent. If they were on anybody else, you would hardly be able to see that person. The jewels would be so bright. We all know the story of Satrajit. What kind of money did he have? Not money, the jewel. Syamantaka jewel. And Satrajit would come in wearing that jewel. And it was so bright that nobody could even see him. They thought that the sun god had himself come in because it was so bright. So this is how bright some jewels are. So Krishna's jewels are much superior to the jewels of this world, like the Samantak jewel, etc. So those jewels which are ordinarily very, very bright, dazzlingly bright, and you wouldn't be able to see the wearer of the jewels, when Krishna wears them, you can hardly see the jewels, because Krishna's body is so dazzlingly effulgent that it almost eclipses the brightness of the jewels. That is how effulgent Krishna is. So this is being stated by Srila Rupa Goswami here. So just let's try to imagine, or better we can't imagine actually, how effulgent Krishna is. Can we look directly into the sunlight? Very difficult. So we can't even tolerate looking at the sun. And the sun's effulgence is only a very small fraction of the effulgence of the Brahma Jyoti, which is only a fraction of the effulgence of Krishna. So this effulgence is actually all pervasive. It is everywhere. Which is why we see in many of the pastimes of our acharyas in Vrindavan, when say Srimati Radharani appears before somebody, and that devotee collapses and can't take that darshan because it's so bright. When Radharani appeared before Narad Muni, or she appeared before Shamanta in Vrindavan, so she was so effulgent. That is the nature of spiritual substance. Swayam Prakashaman. The spiritual world doesn't need effulgence artificially, which is the verse from the Bhagavad Gita. Natat bhasayate suryo na shashanko na pavakah yad gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. Natat bhasayate suryo. You don't need the sun in the spiritual world. Na shashanka. You don't need the moon. Na pavakaha. You don't need fire or any other form of illumination. Because everything is automatically self-effulgent in the spiritual world. The nature of spirit is that it is shining, it is dazzling. So the whole spiritual world shines with an effulgence that we cannot imagine. And we will need special eyes to be able to tolerate that effulgence. When we go into the sunshine, we often wear goggles and dark glasses to be able to see something in the presence of the bright sunlight. So the spiritual world, these goggles, the dark glasses won't do. We will need special vision. We will need spiritual eyes, because only spiritual eyes will be able to accommodate and tolerate that kind of dazzle, that bright effulgence of the spiritual world. So the whole spiritual world is effulgent like that, and that is just a reflection of Krishna's effulgence. So how effulgent must Krishna be? So we just get a very small hint of that here. So we can't take Krishna cheaply. For those who say, I have seen Krishna, or I want to see Krishna. No, even if Krishna comes before you, you will not be able to tolerate that sight. So the second meaning of Tejasa is Prabhavaha, the ability or capacity to conquer. Yes, please read.
Therefore, the transcendental influence of Krishna is so great that it can defeat anyone. When Krishna was present in the sacrificial arena of his enemy King Kamsa, the wrestlers present, although appreciating the softness of the body of Sri Krishna, were afraid and perturbed when they thought of engaging with him in battle.
Sarvajit Sthiti, the situation of being always victorious. No one can conquer Krishna. He can conquer everybody else. He is called Ajita. But there is a secret. Even Ajita can be conquered. By who? By the devotees. Which is that verse? Jnane prayasamudapasya namantya eva jivanti sanmukharitam bhavadiya vartam sthane sthita shrutikatam tanuvan manobhir ye prayaso chita chitopyasitaistri lokyam. Who says this verse? Brahma. So Brahma is saying to Krishna, my dear Krishna, for those people who give up the path of speculative understanding of your existence as the impersonal, and who live together in the company of your devotees, Sanmukharitam, from the mouths of the devotees, they hear your kathas, your glories, Sanmukharitam Bhavadiya Vartam, and they stay on in their respective positions in the world. Sthane sthita shrutikatam tanuvan manobhir, and they serve you with their body, mind, and words. Such faithful, staunch devotees have the capacity to conquer you, even though you are Ajita, unconquerable. So, the part that Krishna has a capacity to conquer anyone is a part of Tattva, a philosophical reality. But there is Rasa, as we heard yesterday also. But in Rasa, Krishna is conquered. He is conquered by love, conquered by the love of his devotees. Therefore, he was tied not by Mother Yashoda in the grinding mortar, but he was tied by the love of Mother Yashoda. So the love of the residents of Vrindavan is so intense and so sweet that Krishna is completely conquered in Vrindavan. Nowhere else in any other part of the spiritual or material world will we see the conquest, or rather the Krishna being conquered so completely as in Vrindavan. Everywhere else he is supremely victorious. No one can conquer him. So this quality of Sarvajit Sthiti Prabhava is a part of the Tattva, a philosophical thing, but it's one of the qualities, the second meaning of effulgent. And we'll just do one last one before we end at 10:30. 9 till what time we go on? 11 o'clock, right? 9 to 11, right? So 10:40 and then questions. Okay. So the next quality, number 5. Number 5 is strong. So please look at quality number 5. It's called Baliyan. Baliyan means filled with great strength. Rupa Goswami has defined it as follows: Pranena mahata purno baliyan iti kathyate. So Baliyan iti kathyate, it is said to be, he is said to be strong, whose strength, prana, is mahata, extremely great strength and complete strength. One who is filled with extreme strength is called Baliyan. Okay. An interesting point about this is that whenever these qualities exist in Krishna, you remember we discussed that not only are they present in completeness and perfection, but they exist all the time. Whereas for jivas, they exist, but kvachit. Sometimes they exist, sometimes they don't. But in Krishna, they always exist. If Baliyan, being supremely powerful, is one of the qualities of Krishna, it means that Krishna is always all-powerful. When he became a small child in his childhood pastimes in Bhauma Vrindavan, at that time he was only a few days old when he killed Putana, such a fierce Rakshasi, a demoness. She was so powerful compared to a little ordinary baby. But Krishna was strong enough even at that age to kill Putana, which means that it doesn't make a difference to Krishna whether he manifests himself in a baby form or in a boy's form or in a youth's form or any other form. Krishna will remain all-powerful at all stages in all circumstances. He may not choose to exercise that strength. That's a different matter. But he retains the position of being Balayan under all circumstances. We can see that for human beings, for example, a child, a newly born child is totally helpless, has practically no strength, can't do anything on its own, needs help. Then as you grow up, then the child's strength increases, and when one reaches the peak of youth, that is when one reaches the peak of one's strength. And then in middle age, after that the strength starts declining again. Then one comes to old age where one's strength has declined. So we can see that our strength depends on the age. It also depends on one's circumstances. If one is hungry, hasn't eaten for many days, one doesn't get that vigor. But if one has eaten well, exercised well, one has some strength. So whatever little strength we have, whatever atomic fraction of strength that we have, is also conditional depending on time, place and circumstance. But Krishna's complete, perfect strength is unconditional. It is always present, in all times, in all circumstances. So please read what Srila Prabhupada says about this.
A person who has extraordinary bodily strength is called Baliyan. When Krishna killed Arishtasur, some of the gopis said, "My dear friends, just see how Krishna has killed Arishtasur." Although he was stronger than a mountain, Krishna plucked him up just like a piece of cotton and threw him away without any difficulty.
Okay. So it's an interesting analogy. Arishtasur was a very powerful demon. And by the way, the killing of Arishtasur inaugurated a most wonderful pastime, which was that Radha Kund and Shyama Kund manifesting. So he was an extremely powerful demon, but Krishna, as per this verse, effortlessly picked him up just like a piece of cotton and threw him away. None of us have any difficulty picking up a piece of cotton. We don't strain our body to lift up a small piece of cotton. So for Krishna, Arishtasur was like that. So this is the kind of bodily strength that we are speaking about. The second example is given of Krishna at the age of 7 lifting the Govardhan hill. Can we read?
There is another passage wherein it is said, "O my dear devotees of Lord Krishna, may the left hand of Lord Krishna, which has lifted Govardhan hill like a ball, save you from all dangers."
Yes. And this verse has been given by Srila Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. It was also spoken by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he came to Vrajabhumi and he was doing parikrama of Govardhan. The moment he saw Govardhan, he offered his full obeisances to Govardhan and he chanted many verses glorifying Govardhan. And this verse that Srila Rupa Goswami has used here to illustrate how Krishna is Baliyan was also chanted by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at that time. So let's recite this verse. It is a very beautiful verse. Vamastamara sakshasya bhujadanda sapatuvaha Krida kandukatam yena Nito govardhano girihi. May the left, Vamas refers to left hand. Tamaras refers to a lotus. Lotus has many meanings in Sanskrit. Can you mention some of the Sanskrit names for lotus? Kamal. Okay, it's too confusing, everybody is saying. Okay, so many names. Ambuja, Saroja, Nalina, Aravinda, like that. Dozens and dozens of names. So Tamarasa is also one name for lotus. Aksha means eyes. Akshasya means of the one who has eyes. So Vamas Tamarasakshasya Bhujadandaha, that means his arm. Sapatuvaha, may he protect you. Krida Kandukatam. Kandukatam refers to a toy. Krida means a playful thing. Nito Yena Nito Govardhano Girihi. So Krishna lifted the Govardhana hill. Nito Govardhana Giri means lifted Govardhana Giri, the hill. And how did he lift it? Krida Kandukatam Yena, like a toy. He lifted Govardhan hill like a toy. And how did he lift it? Bhujadandaha, with his arm. Of which hand? Vamas, left hand. And who was the one who lifted it? Tamarasakshasya. Tamarasaksha, like Pundarikaksha. Who is Pundarikaksha? Krishna. Who is Kamalaksha? So similarly, Tamarasaksha is Krishna. So of Krishna, may that left hand of Krishna, of lotus-eyed Krishna, which lifted the Govardhan hill like a toy, protect you, sapatuvaha. It's a beautiful prayer. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted this. So this illustrates how Krishna was so powerful even at the age of 7. And the Brajabasis, when they were standing under Govardhan, they were in bliss. And they didn't try to analyze. How is it that a little boy is able to hold up a mountain like this for 7 days and 7 nights? But when they went back, that's when they started thinking, oh, what just happened? For 7 days, we were under the hill, and this boy was holding it up. And that whole chapter is titled Wonderful Krishna. When the Brajabasis start discussing amongst themselves, what happened? How did this happen? And they go to Nanda Maharaj, and Nanda Maharaj pacifies them and sends them back, and they're all very happy again. So this is Krishna's exhibition of enormous power. For Krishna's point of view, it is not enormous power, but from our point of view, it is enormous power. And then we'll just take on. We are at 10:38. Okay. We'll just take on one more quality. Number 6 quality is Vayasyanvitaha. Vayasya refers to age, especially youthful age. Anvita means that which is the essential quality, who is endowed with, is naturally there with him. So this is ever youthful, the 6th quality of Krishna. Vayaso vividhatvepi sarva bhakti rasashrayah dharme kishore evatra nitya nana vilasavan. So, vayaso vividhatvepi. Vividhatva means a variety. Vayas means age. Api means although. So, although Krishna is endowed with all ages, which are the ages? He starts from Balya, which is less than 5. He comes to Pauganda, which is 5 to 10. And then he comes to Kaishora, which is 11 to 15. And then there is Yauvana, 15 onwards. Generally, that is the categorization of ages in human beings. So Krishna goes through these different categories of ages. So Vayaso Vividhatve Api. So even though Krishna passes through these different ages, still Sarva Bhakti Rasashraya Dharmi Kishora, that Kishore age of adolescence, pre-youth, is most excellent. So we'll read the translation here. Though Krishna is endowed with all ages which become most excellent, the age of Kaishore, ever fresh, endowed with all pastimes, manifesting all good qualities, and the shelter of all rasas, is considered the best. So among all the ages of Krishna, the best age at which all his 64 qualities find perfection, that is Kaishora. Remember, we mentioned how all the 64 qualities are found in Krishna in the most astonishing way. And even in Krishna, with relative to his different ages, these qualities are most astonishing compared to other ages, even in the age of Kaishora. Because before that, in the childhood stage, he doesn't do Rasa Leela. As a child, under 5, he doesn't play the flute that much. He starts playing as he grows older, slightly older than that. So Kaishora is the peak of his beauty, the peak of his transcendental qualities. So Kaishora is the best age of Krishna. So, can we just, or rather, there's all the same verse also appears in the Chaitanya Charitamrita with a slightly different translation by Srila Prabhupada. So, we'll look at that as well. And we can chant this together. Vayaso vividhatvepi sarva bhakti rasashrayah dharme kishora evatra nitya lila vilasavan. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is eternally enjoying Himself, and He is a shelter of all kinds of devotional service. Although His ages are various, His age known as Kishore, pre-youth, is best of all. Yeah, please read.
Sixth, ever youthful. Krishna is beautiful at his different ages, namely his childhood, his boyhood, and his youth. Out of these three, his youth is the reservoir of all pleasures and is the time when the highest varieties of devotional service are acceptable. At that age, Krishna is full with all transcendental qualities and is engaged in his transcendental pastimes. Therefore, devotees have accepted the beginning of his youth as the most attractive feature in ecstatic love.
Okay. You see, in the material world, when Krishna appears in Bhauma Vrindavan, Vrindavan that is manifested on Bhumi or the earth, he goes through these phases of age. But in the spiritual world, Paravyoma Vrindavan, he is eternally a Kishore. He is eternally an adolescent youth there. This is a very, very important point. And that is the reason why even in Bhauma Vrindavan, or when he manifests on earth, Krishna stops growing once he reaches the age of pre-youth or youth. He doesn't grow beyond that. So therefore Srila Prabhupada says that when Krishna was present on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, even though he was actually almost 85 years old or something like that, he still appeared like a youth of 15 or 20. Srila Prabhupada says like that. He didn't look like a person of 85. You've seen people who are 85 years old. Do they look very youthful? Some people may, because of they've looked after themselves well. But generally a person at age 85 is quite old and you can see the symptoms of old age. But Krishna was completely youthful. So the word Vayasanvitaha, the Anvitaha, like we come across this word earlier also, Sarva Sat Asal Lakshananvitaha. So he is endowed with them, and that is an essential attribute of his. Another way of explaining it is that Krishna identifies with that. So Krishna identifies with the Kaishora age as his own permanent age in Goloka Vrindavan. So this is the beauty of Krishna's Kaishora. Yeah, next para.
At this age, Krishna is described as follows. The force of Krishna's youth was combined with his beautiful smile, which defeated even the beauty of the full moon. He was always nicely dressed, in beauty surpassing even Cupid, and he was always attracting the minds of the gopis, who were thereby always feeling pleasure.
Okay, so Jiva Goswami Pad says that this illustrates the superiority of the Madhurya Ras or the Shringar Ras. So in Kaishora, Krishna actually relishes the Shringar or Madhurya Ras. According to his different ages, Krishna relishes different rasas. So in his childhood pastimes, Balya Leela, he relishes Vatsalya Ras. As he grows a little older, in the Pauganda age, he relishes Sakhya Ras. It's not that he doesn't relish Vatsalya, But what is predominant is Sakhya, because he's out playing all day. Children at that age, they just want to play. They want to be out of the house and playing all day. So he's relishing Sakhya ras. When he reaches Kaishora, that is when he starts relishing the Shringara ras or the Madhurya ras. And that is his eternal situation in Goloka Vrindavan. Okay? So, with this discussion on the sixth quality of Krishna, who is ever youthful, we will stop here, and we have about 15 minutes more, and we can have questions for some time. And in the evening, when we meet, or afternoon, we'll continue with quality number 7.
Maharaj, question is, Srila Prabhupada says that all the transcendental qualities are present in pure devotees also. So if these 50 qualities, if they are not present, then they are not practicing pure devotional service?
It's not like that. Krishna will manifest through the person of a pure devotee, whatever qualities that are essential for that pure devotee service. So some pure devotee may be a wonderful poet. Not everybody, every pure devotee may write poetry, but somebody may write. But broadly, the qualities will be there. These 50 qualities will be there.
Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, Antardvip Prabhu asks, the first 3 qualities, Suramyangaha, Sarvasat Lakshana Anga and Ruchira, they apparently all appear similar. Can you please help us know the difference between them?
Yeah, some slight differences, you're right. The first verse refers specifically to the bodily limbs of Krishna. The second refers to certain characteristics like the redness in certain places, the elevation of certain places, the fineness in certain things, the smoothness of certain things, which are very specific points. So the auspicious characteristics also include the marks on the soles and the palms, etc. So although these add to the beauty, but they are very specific because they are auspicious characteristics. As far as Suramyangaha, it's for specifically the bodily limbs. And Ruchira refers to the overall pleasing experience of seeing Krishna's form. Overall, by looking at Krishna, his whole demeanor, his physical feature, his behavior, and his words and everything, one becomes very blissful.
Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, 3 similar questions. If the essence is, if Krishna is in Kaishora age in the spiritual world, what do Vatsalya and Sakhya Rasa devotees do there? Is it that their rasa is not fully manifest, or the essence is same?
You see, when Krishna is in the Kaishora Ras, in the Kaishora stage of life, definitely the Madhurya Ras or the Shringar Ras is very prominent, but it doesn't mean that the Sakhya Ras and the Vatsalya Ras are absent. He still goes to graze the cows, even in Goloka Vrindavan, as a Kishore, and he goes with his cowherd boyfriends. So he has the Sakhya Ras there. He also engages with the cows. So that also happens. And he's still the beloved son of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. He has loving dealings with them when he comes back home. So the other rasas are also present in Krishna at that time. But the predominant one is the Shringar Ras.
Thank you, Maharaj. Sanchari Prabhu asks, we hear that Krishna performs different Leela in different yugas. So does his quality also change in different yugas?
These qualities are eternally present in Krishna. Krishna may choose to manifest certain qualities in a prominent way in one time or another time, but the qualities are always there with Krishna eternally.
Thank you, Maharaj. The question is, does Krishna perform all Bhauma Vrindavan pastimes in spiritual Goloka Vrindavan or only Kaishore age pastimes?
Well, naturally there are Sakhyaras pastimes. As I mentioned, he goes out with the cowherd boys into the grazing pasture lands, and there he's playing with his cowherd boys. He grazes the cows, he has exchanges with the cows. He also has exchanges with Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, and the older Gopas and Gopis. So the Sakhya and Vatsalya rasas are also experienced there. What was the second part of that? Read that question again.
In spiritual or Golok Vrindavan, does he perform only Kaishore age pastimes?
Any pastimes here that he does not do over there? Yeah, so for example, killing of the demons. For the simple reason that in the spiritual world, there are no demons. In the spiritual world, you only have pure devotees. You don't have demons who live there. Although there is some sense just to increase the excitement. Oh, the demons are coming, something like that, some rumor, something comes up. But you won't actually find Krishna killing the demons there. So some pastimes don't happen there.
Thank you, Maharaj. Question is, we have heard that Lord Krishna is a jealous lover. Is this one of his qualities? And if yes, how to understand this?
That's a very elevated topic. But let us suffice it to say at this time that only when we become free from jealousy can we even begin to understand what this means. So right now we're struggling with getting rid of envy and pride and all these other things.
Thank you, Maharaj. Shadbhuj Gauranga Prabhu asks, during initiation, one devotee got the name Shant Kishore Das. Kishore Das. What does this name exactly signify? We have never come across names like Shant Kishore or Shant Govinda.
Yeah, Shanta means peaceful. So one of the qualities of Krishna, Kishore is the name of Krishna, who is in that Kaishora stage. Kishore, Kishori are very famous deities of Krishna and Radha Rani in America, installed by Srila Prabhupada.
There is one question, Maharaj. The total count of features for the second quality, Sarvasan Lakshanam, Gunotha and Angotham, the total count of features is 26, not 32. Antardvip Prabhu asks. What is mentioned there? The total does not become 32.
Mathematically is one thing. Let's see. There are 8 reddish areas, 3 broad areas, 3 short areas, 3 deep areas, 5 higher areas, 5 fine areas. 8 and 3, 11 and 3, 14 and 3, 17 and 5, 22 and 5, 27. So there are 27, and then if you look at some others, and by the way, there are other symptoms also mentioned in other scriptures like the Padma Puran. So these don't constitute the entirety of the symptoms that are found on Krishna. Yes, so that is how it is. That is how it is mentioned here. So it can come, but it says here 32 auspicious symptoms. So we accept it as it is.
Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, the question is, for a progressive sadhaka devotee of Krishna, does he also realize other forms of Krishna before realizing Lord Krishna's original form? Other expansions or Does he realize other forms of Krishna before actually going to the Swayam Rupa?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. If somebody is focusing on Krishna, the two-armed form of Krishna playing the flute in Vrindavan, if that is that devotee's object of service and meditation, then he will realize that form of Krishna. In fact, in Bhagavad Gita purports, Krishna says we should meditate on that form of Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, question. Akhanda Ananda Prabhu asks, although Srila Prabhupada says that major avatars are pre-declared, however, he also says that they are like waves and innumerable. They keep on coming. So, is it like that the miscreants take advantage of this? What if we do not accept a genuine avatar although it is not pre-declared?
Avatars will always be predicted. And when there are waves of avatars, that waves refers to millennia, yugas and yugas and yugas. In that time frame, we're talking of the waves. And also remember that there are multiple universes, and in each of them, these multiple avatars are appearing simultaneously. So, at one point, there is one avatar, different types of avatars, yuga avatar. So there are all these different Leela avatars, all of them will be manifesting at different times. In that sense, there are waves, but they're all predicted. Okay, it's 11 o'clock and we will stop here for a 15-minute break, and then we will hear from His Holiness Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj from Madhurya Kadambini. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Srila Rupa Goswami ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. Hare Hare.